Frank, I want to welcome you to the podcast.
Great, thank you.
First time we've sat down to do this. And I didn't realize that you were a colonel in the Army?
Yes, I sure did, yeah. 26 and a half years in the Army. But I had it easy, I mean, to be honest with you. You know, we talked a little bit, but you know, I did 8 years in the Air Cavalry as a helicopter pilot.
Okay.
And then I became what's called a foreign area officer.
Right.
So we had 3 levels of education you go through: Japanese language training, master's degree, and then a year of in-country training, which was basically, you know, four years or so off.
Right.
You know, you're in school.
But first you went to
The military academy.
Military Academy, which is called West Point.
West Point, U.S. military.
You're West Point.
Yeah.
Man.
No, but
No, really, everyone admires that. And just seeing you, because you're so humble, first of all.
Thank you.
No,
I
from the
appreciate
time
that.
there.
A lot of people won't say that.
No, you're very, very humble and non-assuming and stuff. And we did talk over lunch, so you told me, you explained part of that with me, because I've met many colonels and I've met generals too.
Right.
In the past, and they have an air about them of kind of like authority,
Yeah.
and you need to know who I am.
Yeah, sort of, I guess. Yeah, I'm very comfortable in who I am, I guess. You know, then that's helpful. As you and I have talked about, right? Knowing yourself.
That's right.
Knowing yourself is more than half the battle, right?
Don't you think so?
I think so. So, yeah, I mean, so I went to West Point, but as I talked about earlier, you know, one of the reasons I did that was because my parents were divorced, and I didn't want to have to ask either one of them for money for college.
Right.
And I didn't mind serving my country, of course.
Right.
And then, yeah, I've just been very fortunate throughout my career. Like I said, I got to be a helicopter pilot, which was every assignment I was at, someone died, just for the record.
Every assignment.
Every assignment.
But how many assignments were there?
So when I was in the 82nd Airborne Division,
Okay.
we lost one of our. I was the Kiowa Warrior OH-58 Delta platoon, and then in the other platoon, the Cobra gunships from the Vietnam era gunships. One of the pilots basically went into AP Hill, went into the ground.
Okay. Anybody die as a result of enemy fire?
Oh no! I'm talking just accidents. Helicopters are dangerous.
All accidents.
All accidents. They don't want to stay in the air.
How long did it take for you to get your pilot's license?
It's a little over a year school.
It's something I thought about, but I'm thinking, if I'm fortunate enough to wait until the drones come out, because they'll pilot themselves.
Yeah.
4 blades.
They're out there already.
They are, no, but I mean, man.
That you can sit in.
You sit in.
Yeah.
They're out there already.
No, I don't know about that.
Yeah. They have the ones that carry stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But they don't want to see. So because of the way they're designed.
Yeah, I mean,
a
helicopter is basically beating the air into submission and fighting to stay up. A plane wants to stay up, right?
Right.
It glides.
It has a glide. But I heard that helicopters have a certain glide pattern.
We have an auto glide feature that if the engine goes out, in fact, that's all helicopter school is, right? Is emergency procedures. What do you do when there's a problem?
Because there's going to be one.
Because there's going to be one. Yeah, I'm not kidding. So it was bad. So and another time that we were asked to go find a helicopter that had smashed into in Fort Hood. There's literally only one small hill.
Okay.
And the helicopter had found it. Yeah. I'm laughing. I shouldn't laugh.
No,
It's horrible. But and then I was doing my pilot in command ride. It's when you become the pilot in command. I was doing that ride, and we got a call. It was right at dusk, and we got a call. Hey, a C-130 special ops aircraft went into the Mott Lake at Fort Bragg, and we went to find it. And you know, we found it and kind of directed in the emergency support. That was my pilot in command ride, so that was a little stressful, but it worked out.
How many people died now?
I think there were 9 on board, 7 special operators, and
they all died.
And they all died, yeah, and 2 pilots.
Did they die because of the impact, or did they die from drowning afterwards?
Probably
a combination of both.
Yeah, probably both. I didn't look into. It was not good. Yeah, only the tail was sticking out.
How long did you fly?
8 years.
8 years.
Yeah, I got about 1,000 hours.
Did you have any close calls?
No, not really. Okay, well, here's a Forrest Gump style thing. But I was flying. We were shooting gunnery in Korea. And we got a call, hey, go download your ammunition. And I'm like, wait a minute, we're doing gunnery. Why am I going to download my ammunition? And they're like, yeah, go download your ammunition, please. Order, right? And I'm like, okay, Roger. We go over, we download our ammunition. They're like, fly to this grid. So the OH-58 Delta, we had an inertial navigation system. This was just as GPS was starting to come out. And actually, as a result of what I'm about to tell you, GPS became mandatory on all of the aircraft after this event. Okay, so we were out there. We had an inertial navigation system, and they're like, fly to this grid. So we start flying to the grid. We plug it into our system. Only one guy in my entire troop of 6 aircraft that were flying at the time had the map that went out that far. Okay, so we went and we're like, sir, that's North Korea. And
the grid
that we were given to go look at was North Korea.
They knew that.
They knew that. So I called back and I said, okay, we've looked, we understand it's where it is. For us to see that, we're going to have to go across the no-fly line. Is that what you're ordering? And they're like, absolutely not. You are not to cross the no-fly line. Okay, got it, understood. So what do you want us to do? We can't see it from our side of the border. And there's a 1 kilometer on both sides of the border, right? So the DMZ, right? So it's actually even further back. So we're like, where do you want us to go? We can try to see it, but given the mountainous terrain of North Korea, as you may know, especially along the border there, that's where it's really mountainous. So we're like, we're not going to be able to see where you're asking us to see unless we go into North Korea. And they're like, absolutely not, do not do that. Okay, so they call it, so they're like, stand by. 30 minutes, we're still moving towards the objective, and then they're like, okay, turn around and come back. Found out later what had happened was, that was when Bobby Hall had gotten shot down in North Korea. He had accidentally crossed in with his co-pilot, which,
Was this a Cessna?
No, this was this was in 1994. You can look it up. Right before Christmas, Clinton celebrated him as a hero. The aviation community, by the way, did not, because he actually got his co-pilot killed. We don't have to put that on. Maybe I don't know. We may or may not want to edit that out, but
okay, I can take that out.
But Bobby Hall was the pilot that lived.
But what kind of plane was he in?
It was in an OH-58 Alpha Charlie, which is a Vietnam era Scout, our predecessor. We're the OH-58 Delta.
He was in the military.
He was in the military. He was in the one of the units. And what happened is they were doing training to teach a new pilot, the pilot that died, by the way, the DMZ, what not to do. Don't cross the DMZ. Here's the DMZ. Here's what you look for. Well, it was like a coming together of many different issues, right?
Okay.
So there's panels on the ground that normally you can see, but it had snowed the day before. That was all covered. Couple other things. Normally they had broken it up. The air cavalry unit that I was in was responsible for sectors A and B, the country, right? They divide the country A, B, C, D. So C and D was an Apache unit with these OH-58 Alpha Charlies. And they normally go over to the coast, up and then down in along the border, and the coast is there, so you can it's a little safer. They did it from the middle this time, and he lost track of where he was. Next thing you know, and North Korea, if you're flying north, they'll let you go north. When you turn to go south, that's when they shoot you down. So they went, probably about 8 kilometers, or 10 kilometers into North Korea, then realized, oh my gosh, we are in North Korea. Let's turn around. So that's when they got shot down, and that's when his co-pilot died.
But why would they shoot you down because you're trying to get out of North Korea now?
They don't want you to get out of North Korea. They want to capture you, and they did. And then it became a big,
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so that happened. Yeah, a lot of things different. A lot of every assignment, something different happened.
Wow. So then you stayed in for 26 and a half years.
Yeah.
And what rank were you when you first came in? You come in as a captain or lieutenant?
You come in as a second lieutenant out of West Point.
Right.
So you graduate West Point, you're a second lieutenant, the lowest ranking officer.
Right.
And then the military is good about your promotions are pretty steady, right? I think 2 years later I got first lieutenant, and 2 years later captain, which was actually
good. But you had to be a captain to fly.
No.
You don't?
No.
Well, I thought you had to be a captain.
No, in fact, in the Army, the warrant officers
Can fly.
Most of my
Oh, is that right?
were the warrant
And
officers.
those are the enlisted.
Those are
right?
the well, they're
Enlisted
warrant
ranks.
officers. It's in the in between.
I know,
right?
in between. They're just
Yeah, yeah.
they could, yeah, right.
Yeah,
But
so
they
you-
came up through the enlisted rank.
Some of them. They don't have to. They have
Okay.
they have a school you go to. It's the warrant officer school is actually at Fort Rucker.
But do they still have warrant officers in the Army?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Most of
Because
our
they
pilots.
used to in the Air Force, and I think they've done.
The Air Force is different. In the Air Force, it is pilots. It is officers only that fly.
Right, you have to be, a captain, I believe.
I don't know for sure. I
Or
think
maybe
so.
not, okay.
It's probably true,
Okay,
but for us, it's different.
right.
Yep.
Wow.
Different.
Listen, tell me this. I asked someone once before, and they disputed it. Maybe you know it, maybe you don't. But I heard at one time that actually the Army has more sea-going vessels than the
That's true.
than the Navy.
That's absolutely true.
Isn't that the case?
That is the case. That
That's
is
what
absolutely
I
true.
was told
Yeah.
that by an Army officer. And he said we have more sea-going vessels than the Navy does.
That's true.
What about planes? What about planes? You don't have an Air Force, you can't-
I don't
can't
know.
have-
That I don't. We don't have too many
Specialists.
planes. The only
No.
planes we have are like VIP,
Right.
UC-8s. They got a couple out at U.S. Army Japan, right? Yeah, no. So we don't have too many planes. Helicopters, right? We got most of the helicopters.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, but more because think about it. All the ammunition carrying vehicles, LSTs. You know, what are they called? The logistic, supply transports.
Right.
All those, and then all the little ships that are responsible for running a harbor.
Right.
That's us. That's the Army.
Right. And also for making bridges.
And making
Yeah,
bridges,
carrying
yeah.
Bridges and stuff.
All
like
that stuff, man. Yeah.
Wow. My father was in the Army during World War II. Matter of fact, I keep his picture on my iPhone.
Nice.
When he was in Germany, and snow on the ground. He was a tech sergeant. He just made tech sergeant. They were in demolition, so they blew up bridges.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yes, he had an important job. And
At that time,
if something would have happened,
every
he
job
would have
was
been.
important then. Every
Yeah, yeah.
job was important then. So what did you like the most out of during your career? What are some of the things that stood out outside of you being a pilot?
So being in the Air Cavalry was great, right? The camaraderie was awesome. I mean, we were the only. So I was in the 82nd Airborne Division, 101st Air Assault Division, 2nd Infantry Division in Korea. Those are my 3 assignments in the Air Cav, and 1 cavalry squadron in each of those divisions only. So, we had the Stetsons, had the whole, spurs, right? You had a spur ride, it was called, to get your stuff. It was fun, good stuff. That was fun. And then I became a foreign area officer and did 14 years in Japan. So I had it really easy, man. I mean,
You just loved it.
I loved it. Yeah, absolutely.
And you're
I
still
did.
here.
I did 1 year in Afghanistan.
Okay.
That was a. It wasn't supposed to be 1 year in Afghanistan. It was going to be 3 years in Qatar, however you say it, and then 9 months in Tampa. Right. I was going to be Centcom forward. Centcom is Central Command, right?
Mm-hmm.
Running the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. Right. So I was the liaison officer to the Centcom forward for Afghanistan. So I was in the, we call it a SCIF,
Okay.
right? The secret compartmentalized information, whatever it's called, where all the secret stuff happens. We had a panel of
When the Air Force, I think
monitors.
We call it crypto.
Crypto is all in there. It's all in
All
there,
in there. It's
right?
all part of it.
So top secret,
Yeah.
stuff. And you'd get the Air Force guy would be like, okay, hey, we're gonna hit a target in 10, 9. You look at the number 2 screen. So we'd all look at number 2 screen, and it'd be the monochrome.
Right.
Here's the missile coming down. You'd see the little hot spots moving around, and then you wouldn't see the hot spots moving around.
Really?
Yeah, so we'd all be. That was anyway. I shouldn't relish in that so much. Yeah, that was war. But so I was the liaison to the Centcom forward in Qatar, and I was supposed to go back to Tampa, and then they're like, I went forward to meet the staff, and the one who's in charge of personnel is like, hey, you're like a mini General Eikenberry, who was the commander for Afghanistan at the time, 3-star, also a West Point graduate.
Mm-hmm.
And the one is like, you're a little mini Eikenberry. And I'm like, sir, I don't follow. He's like, well, you went to West Point, Stanford, just like Eikenberry. And I'm like, well, yeah, but that doesn't mean, I'm Eikenberry, right? He had a reputation for, he had a reputation, let's just say that.
Okay.
And for the record, I never saw him do anything that wasn't deserved.
Was he a general? Did he become a general?
He was the 3-star in charge. 3-star
I'm
general.
not familiar with who you're talking about.
So he was running Afghanistan.
Okay.
And so the one wanted me to come forward and be he's like, you're a mini Acme bear, you come forward and be his writer. So I did that. That was good exposure for a major. At the time I was a major, and I got to see, got to meet with Senator Kerry when he came over, Ike Skelton, Senate Armed Services Committee came over, or House Services Committee. Who else? Vice President Cheney came over. I wrote the welcome speech for General Eikenberry to welcome him. It was kind of cool. The most interesting thing I did on that one was his roommate at West Point was General Abizaid, who was the 4-star in charge of all of Centcom, so fighting both Iraq and Afghanistan. And he was coming to Afghanistan. He would do a regular check, right, of the command. And so he comes out, and NASA had called and said, hey, when you guys get together next, can you make a video for your other classmate who's running the space station, right? So they're like, oh, yeah, absolutely. So, General Eikenberry says, hey, Frank, come up with a joke for me to say, for the video. I'm like, all right, I don't really know your classmate as well as you do, but okay, So that was fun. I sent out a note to my class and said, hey, give me a Letterman top 10 list, right? That was fun. And he ended up using the joke I wrote for him, which was something like, hey, what's Afghanistan look like from space? Is it flat and brown? Which is what it looks like on the ground too, right?
Ground,
yeah, because you're like, anyway. Yeah, so anyway.
That's good, okay.
Yeah.
So tell me, so when you got out the service, then you decided, what did you do right after that? Or did you have a job before you got out?
No. So we weren't, we talked a little bit about this too before the meeting, but yeah, I've been doing investments and different things. I had, right before I got out, I started, when I knew I was retiring, one of the reasons I retired is I wanted to stay in Japan. Kumi and I had talked, so.
That's your wife, yeah.
That's my wife.
And you actually wanted to, they wanted you to go somewhere else.
They wanted me to go to DC, go back to DC, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that.
And that would have given you 30 years? You could only stay in for 30 years? How long?
Now they've changed the law. The rule now is I think they've extended it to allow you to stay longer. To be honest with you, but I didn't.
But don't they have an age limit too?
They used to. It used to be 30 years, right? If you do 30 years as an officer, you got to get out. Unless you reach a certain rank.
Okay, rank.
A certain rank. Then they say you can stay on longer, right? If you're 3-star, 4-star, whatever. So yeah, but no, we did 26 and a half, and they were like, okay, we want you to go to DC next, and I was like, nah. I was only been married a couple years. Kumi wanted to stay. We were happy with the boys, and we're Nishimachi International School. They were happy, and we decided, no, we don't want to do that. So we're going to go ahead and retire. And so in that time when you're getting ready, you got to give the Army plenty of time, and they give you plenty of time to kind of get ready. So I started a company with 2 other friends. I have since pulled out of that company, but I did other investments, and things were good. And I wasn't going to work, to be honest with you.
What kind of company was it? An investment company?
No, this was UFB Ecotech was the company's name, Ultrafine Bubbles. So we were gonna, we were basically a distributor for someone else's stuff, right? Their machines that make these ultrafine bubbles. And you can use it, if you take a milliliter of water and you put 5 billion bubbles in it that you can't see, it changes the characteristics of the water. So you can use 30% less water and still get the same results, because the aeration, for example, for growing crops, for cleaning, for different applications, right? We didn't even know all the applications at the time. So we did that for a little bit, and then I decided to get out of that. But the market and other investments we had, and so we weren't gonna, you get the pension, so I was just gonna hang out and enjoy Japan. And I did have a job and I still do this job with Valiant Integrated Services, where I'm a political military consultant, basically. And I still do that part-time. Every once in a while they'll call me up and see if I want to do something for them, and so I can do that. But a couple months into it, Kumi's like, you got to get out of the house, please.
You're staying home too.
Yeah. So then I said, okay. So then we started looking around, and then Jane's, I actually got 2 job offers on the same day. And I decided to go with Jane's. And what is Jane's? And Jane's is, it was founded in 1898, so it's 120, 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And they sell aerospace, defense, and security intelligence and data, right? And yearbooks. We have these big yearbooks that we're kind of, in Japan especially, you know, Jane's and Encon we're kind of famous for. Because it's got all the data of all the world's fighting ships, for example, is one of our titles, where you can get all the, you know, different vessels of the world, or orders of battle. Like if you want to know what China has, you know, you can subscribe to that and get all that. So, and most of my clients are my classmates, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it helps, you know. Hey, let's sit down and talk about what you want. You know, what do you need? That's helpful, and it's fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's good, man. We haven't talked about you at all, though. You've done.
There's not a whole lot I can tell you about me. Let me see. The time-wise, there are times right on there. We're right on
Okay.
time because we did have a time restraint. And a couple of things I have to think about after that. But anything you'd like to leave us with? Because we're going to do this more than once, I have a feeling.
Okay.
We're going to have to.
No, the only other thing is that, you know, so Kumi and I are both on our second marriage, and she did 20 years in the self-defense force. So I like to.
She was actually in the service.
She was in the service.
The
So,
Japanese service.
in the service. So I like to tell people that we're the U.S.
Was she an officer as well?
No,
Okay,
she was in. She was signal,
Signal.
crypto.
Okay.
You know, she did all that. So I'm like, hey, tell me
She was
the
intelligence.
tell me the
There
signals.
you go.
She's like, no. Anyway, but U.S.-Japan alliance right there in our house.
That's what I'm talking
The only
about.
difference is, in our U.S.-Japan alliance, Japan is a stronger side.
There you go. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I want to thank you too.
Absolutely, thank you for this. Is an honor being here. I mean, I've seen the long list of folks.
Yeah.
Dan Smith, you know.
That's right. We're
yeah,
starting to build this
great,
up.
yeah.
He's had you on one of his podcasts. Not a podcast. He actually had you
On the History
History
Channel, yeah.
Channel.
That was a fun
That's really good.
fun
We
show.
couldn't have picked a better person.
Yeah,
Really
thanks,
good.
man. I appreciate
Thank
this. Thank you.
Yes. I want to thank all of you for watching this podcast. And remember to like it and also press subscribe. And remember, it's all unknown, and reach for the stars.